Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Your host, Tracy Hayes. Another best of the best I have today in the studio. I'm going to have one of my loan origination sisters here today in the house. A little different show than obviously I have real estate agents on most of the time, but obviously going to bring in one of the top loan originators here. She's a top producer in all of Florida with over 20 years experience originating mortgages. She's from Panama City, but now lives here in Jacksonville. Her experience makes her one of the most popular loan officers in Northeast Florida, amongst other reasons too. She focuses on communication and cornerstone of her business. Her office continues to be one of the top rated in the region year over year. Let's welcome the leader of Mortgages by Linda Garcia, to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm so glad you were able to make it over, and we had a great event. And like I said, I wanted to start bringing in you're one of the first, besides some co-workers that I've had in the past on the show, a loan officer that unrelated, doesn't work with me, but you are definitely a popular on-demand loan originator in Jacksonville, and to share everyone your story as we share the real estate agent's story as well, and what's led you to success, because I guarantee there's a lot of loan officers out there, whether they're here in town or even some real estate agents that might gain some experience too of some of the things that you're doing that got you to the level where you're at today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a fun journey. 20 years. This year is my 20th year for the mortgage industry, so I'm super excited. Thanks so much again for having me here. And
well, like always, let's step it off and let's dig in. I'm going to just start off always just you grew up in Panama City, and what brought you to Jacksonville?
yeah, so I grew up in Panama City, like you said, went to high school there, met my high school sweetheart, and we moved to Jacksonville to get married and start a family. Didn't feel like Panama City was a good place to raise a family, and
Too many spring breakers there? Or?
It was definitely a big party city, and just thought that maybe moving to Jacksonville would be a better place to have a family. And he had a brother that lived in Jacksonville, so we moved here, and that's where we started.
Originally, what were you? Was mortgages something you dove right into when you came here? I mean,
No.
When did you starting to get the idea to work in this industry?
So actually, I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years and was raising my two kids. And then all of a sudden, I was getting a divorce and needed to find a career to work in. And staying home with my children was my goal, and that's really that's all I thought of, is what kind of job can I do where I can still stay home with my kids. So I did not start right away in the mortgage business. I started at another big bank, and I worked in their credit card department for a couple years, and I was really bummed out because my kids were having to go to after school care, and I wasn't home with them.
Sure.
And it was 2002. Lots of people I knew were in the mortgage industry, and they said, if you can work from home if you get in the mortgage industry. So I said, well, that's what I'm going to do, because I want to work from home and be home with my children.
Sure.
So 2002 kind of started it.
So just transferred within the bank, or you left the bank and...
No, I left the bank and I went to work for a really large national mortgage company because I knew nothing about mortgages. And I'm a very detail-oriented person, so I needed to know something about the mortgage world. So I worked for that bank for 1 year in their customer service department, learned the back end of it, learned the servicing department of it. And I think that gives me an edge now too, knowing the servicing part of it along with the origination. It really kind of gives me a little bit of an edge because I know how to talk to clients that maybe another loan officer didn't learn that part of it.
Well, there's no doubt about it. In my 17 years, one popular question besides what's your interest rate, is are you going to service the mortgage, and to be able to answer that with some sort of intelligence, or just be able to answer it fluently, to sound like you know what you're doing, and to know and understand. I think a lot of that brings up a great point, because I think a lot of loan officers don't take that just a few minutes and understand why is the loan, working for the brokerage or working for, of course, many lenders, it goes off as well. I mean, even the banks, I was over at Ameris, they don't service all their loans, with the exception of some of the in-house products that they have, that all goes off to the secondary market. And they explain to people how that transition takes place and what they should expect,
Right.
In 30, 45 days after they close.
Yeah, and even I feel like talking about an escrow and how that's set up, and I get clients now that will get an escrow shortage, and they kind of freak out and they don't know what that means.
Yeah, they call us.
Yeah, so they call you,
the
hey, your payment, my payment is going up. You said it wouldn't go up, so I'm able to be able to explain that to them,
yes,
and kind of help walk them through that, and I feel like that's a good.
We kind of take that for granted as long as we've been in the business too, because we've had those questions numerous times. And yes, we tell you, hey, you got a 30-year fix. Hey, if you want to make 360 payments, they're not going to change, except your taxes and insurance are likely to go up over time, which obviously we're experiencing insurance issues, here in Florida. So that's actually a common call.
It is. And they don't remember, though, if you tell them at the closing table, hey, your payment won't go up other than taxes and insurance.
Right.
They just don't remember that.
No,
so that's always a conversation about 1 year in, I get this call, why did my payment go up? So it's a good conversation.
Yeah. And it generally have, that's actually, I was just thinking while you're saying that's another reason for us to reach out to them and just say, hey, just want to let you know the loan looks great and assume you're making your payments on time. But if payment went up, it's because those taxes in November went up. And by January, the servicer is making those adjustments because they've audited it. Which I think, I don't know, you and maybe your experience in the back end, and this is just a question just in digging into this particular subject for anyone listening. They're pretty quick on it today. 10 years ago, the taxes adjusting, the escrows didn't seem to be, or maybe I'm wrong and you can correct me, were they always being audited in that December timeframe, or maybe the first of the year, where the lender's going back and say, hey, yeah, we wrote a check for $5,000 for your taxes. They used to be $4,500, but we wrote the check for you, but now we need to start collecting that $500 from you. It's become more of a science now with technology and staying on top of the escrow accounts?
Well, typically a lender will reanalyze the escrow account around January, the end of January, beginning of February, after the taxes are paid.
Right.
So it's typically during that amount of time. So usually February-ish is when someone would get that letter that says your escrow has a shortage. I don't really recall years ago. I just know it's pretty
Florida,
consistent now around that time frame for the reanalyzing of the escrow account.
Right, and that would include if the insurance went up 6 months ago, because that was your annual renewal,
right?
And the insurance went up, they would adjust it for that as well. Just an FYI for anyone listening out there, maybe some real estate people who are listening to the show, that's when they're going to analyze. So you may get a call from your buyer saying, hey, why my payment changed? First thing they should check is their taxes and insurance.
Exactly.
And if they've adjusted. So.
Exactly.
All right. So from a professional standpoint, you were working at home, you get in the bank, you're involved in banking, and you slowly, obviously with your goal of trying to stay more time at home, get into the mortgage business. So I was looking, you're at your NMLS, because that's how you can look at everyone's resume, and some of the different lenders that chat. Touch a little bit on, because you've been now with your current lender for about, I think, 16, I think, right? About
2013.
2013. Okay, so, so prior to that, you moved around. What are some of the things that you learned, working with some of those other brokerages? Because really, I mean, now your Mortgages by Linda, you're out there.
Right.
Your name is out there. You're not hiding behind any other type
right.
of name. So what were some of the things that you took from them when in 13, when you said, hey, I'm going to put my name on the...
So where I am now, it's very different than any of the other brokerages. The brokerages that I was at before, we were just a mortgage broker. We had a portfolio of lenders, and we could broker out to those lenders. In 2013, I joined with the Bayway Mortgage Group,
Right.
and Mortgages by Linda was formed. I'm a DBA of the Bayway Mortgage Group, and we have a completely different platform because we're a mortgage broker and we're a correspondent lender.
Yes.
So we table fund on our VA loans and our conventional loans, and we service transfer them, if you will, to the lender that we underwrite them with. And then all of our other loan products that we have, we broker those out. We do have about 15 lenders that we broker out to, and we have about 3 that we correspondent lend through. So that's kind of what sets us apart. And the reason for me moving over and joining forces with the Bayway Mortgage Group and forming Mortgages by Linda was because now I have the ability to offer more options for my buyers.
What were some of the things that you know, in digging in, just to, you know, again, inform your crowd? It's one thing I have a real estate agent here, but another loan officer, like obviously we have common knowledge, but I'm asking questions to draw it out of her.
Got it.
Or create the conversation in it. What were some of the things that you saw, you know, because I would think you would agree that, you know, I don't know, probably 80 to 90% of what we do is the bread and butter stuff. You know, the conventional mortgages, your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, or VA type thing. What were some of the things in 2000? Well, even, you know, prior to 13. I remember when I was at Quicken Loans, prior to the housing collapse of 7, 8, and if you want to call going in 09, we didn't even write VA and FHA loans.
Right.
Quicken wasn't even involved in that. So we started writing them because of obviously the demand for that product went from 3-4% to now, you know, roughly 40% of our loans. What were some of the other products that you sought the need for when you say obviously you expanded your portfolio of choices?
Well, the VA loan is an excellent one. We're in a military town, and we need to be able to service our people that, you know, give great service to our country. So that opened up a big portfolio for me. I mean, I did do VA loans some, but not the level that we're doing them now.
Right.
Because we want to be able to service those VA loans. Before 2013, really, I focused mostly on refinances.
Oh.
And that was my big bulk of business was refinances. And then in 2013, I kind of moved my thought process over to working as purchase business. And now, I mean, I'm 70% purchase. I still have some refi business in there, but
right.
I didn't really do much purchase business prior to 2013.
You know, and I was noticing that, you know, that transition, because again, like at that time, you know, you know, I was at Quicken from 05 to 14, and yeah, we were told a refi shop until about 2008 and 9. That's when they started going, hey, with these rates so low, eventually, and of course they even went lower, obviously, here in just even the last 2 years, but and then bounced back up. But yeah, with a total refi shop, and then they realized, hey, you know what, we need to actually somehow start entering that purchase business. And I would imagine, you know, you probably saw that refi business. I wouldn't say it never dried up because the rates were low. Values of homes started to come back up. People were taking equity out. That business was always there, but it's so important, in my opinion. You know, now 17 years in it, you've got to be able to do both. You have to be able to. You got to have a little bit of that refi in there to kind of add into your purchase business, and that way you're always keeping your pipeline full, and you're doing a good service for your clients. Right. I mean, even today, I still feel like it's a good time for people to use the equity in their home as an investment for a refi. I have customers right now refinancing, and they're using the equity, pay off higher interest rate debt, right? And it's still a good opportunity. Even if it's just to go buy a nice investment property right now, take a little bit of equity out, put 30% down on an investment property. In this area right now, what the return, I was telling some people last night at the event, I re-contented one of the episodes that I did on real estate IRAs. Now, obviously, they don't help you and I because you're generally someone's taking that rollover 401k and they're paying, obviously cash for the home and putting it into their portfolio. But the rental income coming off it with the stock market down, that's another vehicle out there,
Yeah.
to utilize because they're the investment properties in our area. So, but some of the practices, let's dig a little bit just in some of the things that, you were talking about past clients, and there is no doubt if you stay in touch, just like the real estate agents, we've got to stay in touch with their past clients because their life changes.
Right.
They might be buying a new home, but maybe something's happened and they need to pull some equity out of the house, or they want to do that renovation loan and put a pool on the back of the house or something of that nature. So staying in touch. What are some of the ways that what you do now is probably different than what you did 10 years ago?
Oh yeah.
Tell me a little about what you've learned over your years of experience on how to reach out and touch your past clients and even your circles of influence.
Right. Well, we have social media now, and we didn't have social media 10 years ago. So that's really opened up it's a free source to be able to market to people, and consistency is the key. And people will forget about you. If you don't consistently put your name and your face in front of them, they're going to forget about you.
100%.
And if you provide a good service to them and you do a good job, they're going to be loyal to you. I find that my clients are very loyal. They will call me years later, but I'm always in their face. I'm emailing them. I friend request them on social media, and then they follow me, and we're constantly posting. We post every day of the week except for on the weekends. So, and sometimes
people break on the weekends.
Well, I give my team a break on the weekends. So I actually don't do that. I have a great marketing director, and he handles all that for me. But I feel like
that's key in the business right now.
It is key.
It's the digital marketing person versus the old school marketing. Whether I'm sure when you first got started, you were probably doing some print ads and different things like that. That has gone to the wayside. To find a really good digital marketer, which I think you said your son
does
a lot of that. Yeah. So that can go in there, whether it's this video that we're doing right now, or you were at the event last night, all the different things that we do, and like I said, top of mind. Hey, Linda's out there. Linda's out there. Linda's the mortgage lender.
Right.
So I think so many people get in this business, and obviously I talk, having conversations as we were talking pre-show, all the great real estate agents that I've had on. But there's a lot of them that are in that second level, and they're not doing the consistency, that word you used already, and utilizing and being top of mind of everyone that they know. I tell people all the time, since I started the podcast, and this is like 54 weeks now, 76th episode, and my circles of the people that I know, I've gotten more calls from them in the last 12 months than I did the previous 16 years, because my consistency of doing the podcast, I'm out there they see me all the time.
Yeah.
Whether they listen or whatever, I'm posting all the time and reminding them there.
It's important for people to have a routine. You should get up every day and have the same routine. Get up, have a structured day, and have certain things in place. I'm still a list maker. So every day I sit down, when I start my day, I write my list. And this is who all I want to talk to and who all I need to follow up with. And I have to cross them off.
Yeah.
That's my structure of my day. And that makes me, that I know I have got some progress when I've done that.
That's a great tip right there. I mean, there's no doubt we get distracted by all sorts of things. And next thing you know, it's 3, 4 o'clock and you're like, I don't want to bother them now. They're probably on their way home from work and they're tired.
Right.
Whatever. And you come up with some excuse not to touch them.
No.
Yeah.
It's important. That routine and the consistency. Again, people are going to forget about you. There's a million other people that are going to send them emails or phone calls or text or social media. So you got to be in their face all the time. I feel like the personal connection of social media, it can be personal, because the pictures and the closing pictures and the events, that gives a client a personal connection to you, to know that you're a real person, not just a company. So that makes them feel more connected to you.
I had a great real estate agent on the other day. I don't think she was the only one that's told me this before, but our minds, when we see the video, our brain does not designate whether you're there, that person's actually physically in front of you, or you're watching a video. And when you're watching or obviously a picture helps too, but the video,
Right.
your brain does not differentiate, and you're able to build that relationship as if you were right there with them.
Yeah.
Even if it's just, hey, we're at the event last night, or you're out at the beach or whatever, and it's so many people are talking about. They're digging deep, because I think successful people, we dig deep and like, how did
Right.
that happen, right? Well, how did this all come about? And they're building relationships on social media that when we do finally sit down, we're like, oh, I know a little bit about you.
Them.
Yeah.
You feel like you know them.
Yeah.
I have people come up to me all the time. Oh, I know you. I follow you on social media. And, yeah, I know you too.
It is, like I said, if you don't have a digital marketing person, and there's people out there, they can service many different people. It's not like they have to be solely for you and you have to put them full time, because obviously a single agent doesn't want to hire someone full time.
Right. But
what do you think about, because I've heard some different beliefs on posting real stuff, you at an event, you at a closing, you at the beach or whatever it is, versus the generic ads that they pull, talking about mortgages or whatever, and posting them for content for you?
So my marketing director, my son, he does the analytics on that. And we have found that pictures of me or post of closing or my team, we're at an event, those get the most response.
Yes.
So the marketing, the salesy things, they don't really get much response at all.
The generic articles.
They don't.
Whatever.
They just don't. And even taking marketing when I was in college, they teach you then, and this is years ago,
right, that
salesy ads, you should be minimal on the sales and more on the personal connection.
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you are listening to podcasts or whatever, or reading books on this subject, that's exactly the people say, oh, well, COVID did change the game a little bit, but I think it only accelerated those who were actually already doing the social media play and putting some personal. Now, I was told the other day, someone said, oh, you need to be doing, and if Elizabeth, if you're listening, because I still want to read this article because I think everyone has a different opinion on it. 5 personal to every 1 business.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the plan you guys try to play?
And we still limit that business. I mean, it'll be a random time. If you follow me on social media, you'll randomly see us post a salesy post where it's just a graphic or something like that. It's very, very seldom.
I try to do it's worked for me. And actually, I was sitting down, I was talking to my wife because of my changeover coming over here to fiber and so forth. I kind of got delayed in my little 60-second little video talking about whatever.
Yeah.
Because I've done a 60-second video on a pool renovation loan, and all of a sudden, like 2 weeks later, someone in my neighborhood's calling me.
Right.
And doing that. And obviously, that's like, well, I took 60 seconds. To do that. Didn't take any time, didn't cost me anything but my time, and obviously I upload it and it's out there. And how important do you think it is, especially if someone's out there watching right now, and we know we have a lot of real estate agents in this realm, as well as loan officers, that are a little bashful to get out and get in front of that camera?
I would say just do it at home when it's just you doing it, because then you can be more comfortable doing it. And really the reels and the TikToks and the videos, all of those things, that's what the millennials are looking for. They go to TikTok to look for mortgage, real estate. Right. They go for anything, really. That's kind of even my niece, she was telling me she just has a baby. So she learns everything about her baby from TikTok. So if we want to be...
There's other moms out there posting stuff.
And if we want to be relevant for our millennials, who are the next generation of buying and refinancing, we have to do what's relevant to them. So you have to step outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Get a family member. If you can't video yourself, get a family member to do it. I'm very blessed. I have my son, so he does all that for me. But
well, you're right. Sometimes I like to go, I close the door, because I will... you and I have been in the business long enough. If we're going to talk about something about mortgages, we can go on for 60, 90 seconds about anything.
Right.
And you just got to do it. And there's times I've said, there's times I've been 30 seconds in. I've shot the whole thing and said, you know what, that sounded stupid, delete, and I started again.
Oh, yeah.
Now, there's some people who are fancy in the editing, and you want to go in there and do that because there's guys who will tell you, just go and shoot, and if you pause or whatever, you can go back later and edit. To me, that's time.
Yeah.
So I try to do it in one take. But I just have the stand that I got over there, or use one of these little stands right here and pop it. And you can get the little remote.
Yeah.
So you can just click your finger and the video, recording starts, blah, blah, blah. Great. Call me if you have any questions, click, and then, it's out there.
Yeah.
And I listen to a guy, Steve Kyles with the Mortgage Market Animals. He says, if it's worth doing badly. Yeah. And you will get better.
You know what we found? So we'll do the video and my son will save the edits and we post a,
bloopers?
Like the bloopers. And those actually get so much more response than the actual post does.
Your friends, people who love you, people who've done business with you, they don't care. They don't care what you look like. If you're, possibly an attractive person is going to attract someone new to say, oh, who's that? Yeah. But your friends and family, your circles of influence who you're trying to stay in front of, they know you personally. They don't care if you're here.
Well, it makes you a real person.
Yes.
A real person makes mistakes. A real person does funny things. Like, you're not perfect all the time. Right. So it just gives you that real aspect to someone that doesn't know you.
Something that I think is important when you're doing your video, and I'm interested in you and your sons probably talked about it. But like I said, the bloopers get people to laugh, get people to smile. And to me, if you get an emotional reaction in one way, shape, or form or another, it's more impactful. Right. They remember that. Right. Versus just some generic, like, oh, okay, next. Yeah.
Well, no one's perfect all the time, so there's always going to be some blooper, if you will, to everything. So I think those, again, they get a lot of interaction. So we like to post those.
Great tip right there. If you are not doing video, Linda just told you, the bloopers get more responses. Right.
Get more hits. Can find them on our Facebook page.
Tell me a little bit about you've been in the business, both of you. I started in 2005. You started early, a couple of years before that. In 2000, we started seeing. I didn't move here to Florida until basically January of 2009. Mm-hmm. So I was working remotely from Arkansas. It was from February of 2008. Prior to that, I was in Michigan in 2007. I think the summer of 2007 and even the summer of 2008 were just really thin times. Yeah. What were some of the things? What got you through there? What was your mindset? To kind of maybe share with some of the newer people in our industry about, what the market changes that are possibly going on. People think the sky's falling. How did you get through that time period?
Well, a few things happened during that time. I had just gotten remarried and my father was sick and he had to come live with me. Mm-hmm. And my father was sick and my older brother was dying. He had a disease and he was dying. And then my father-in-law was dying all at the same time. Whoa. So those three people, I was a part of their caretaker during that time. But as far as financially goes, so I wasn't doing as much business. But as a family, what we had to do, we cut back on our budget. I made a budget. I'm very good with money. Obviously, that's why I'm in the mortgage industry. I can help people with their finances. So we actually followed the Dave Ramsey plan, and we made a budget, and we just lived off that budget, and we just cut back on a lot of different things during that time. It worked out for me because I really couldn't work a lot. Right. And my dad, my brother, and my father-in-law at the time all died in 2009 and 2010. So 2010, right after that, is when I was able to pick back up and kind of get myself back out there and really try to start doing some business again. So that my story is a little different in that I had a lot of personal things going on. Distraction from the business. Okay. But really, when it's a downturn like that, making the best decision with your money and being wise with your money and budgeting, you can't maybe live as lavish of a lifestyle as you did when things are really fruitful, but it's really important to be able to know when when that's important to do in your life. You have to make those adjustments.
I mean, we obviously with the pricing of housing, and I know you and I know there's a lot of people in our industry, have gone out and they've never seen that time.
Right.
I mean, there's definitely, I don't know how many times I wanted to quit during that time because you're like just banging your head against the wall. When the phone's not ringing. I mean, and even working with, at that time, Quicken was still, they were a top 10 lender, and they're pumping out the advertisements, but they were cutting back just like they did recently, trimming people back, getting out what a lot of people say, the bottom 20%.
Right.
But, for those who are budgeting correctly, tightening what their expenditures are, whatever it is that you need to do, or you're just, I hate to use the word frugal. I don't like frugal, but
right.
I mean, you only live once. You should somewhat enjoy it, but not get crazy. But as you're going to, there's going to be a clean out of our business, as it always happens. Rates have gone up and gone up very quickly. Lenders are already closing shop. The doom and gloomers. I was listening actually to a podcast the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, I was working on this, trying to get this real estate agent to call them back, and they said, no, I got a lender, I'm good, and finally." They literally, after 3 weeks after, they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm not calling this guy anymore. He calls the loan officer and says, hey, let's go regroup and talk about doing business together, because the loan officer I have is very negative, and and obviously he, through COVID and now going into this situation, for whatever reason, it opened an opportunity, and that person, that negative person is probably looking to get out of the business.
And I think too, when the business is booming and people are making a lot of money, sometimes there's this group of people that get in and they get in it for the money. They're not in it because they care about the people, because they're passionate about the industry. They get in it because it's all about the money. And so when the business slows down some, they can't sustain and they're not interested in, I don't want to say interested, but their passion is not helping people in the mortgage. So I think that, what do they say when it gets tough?
When the going gets tough, the tough
get going. Yeah. So I think that stands for mortgage too. A lot of people ask me, how did I hang in during those times? And there was times where I questioned, should I go do something else? Is this really the best industry for me? And I just knew. I knew because I had a passion for it. I had a passion for helping people. And during that time, even budgeting for my own self, when at the time I was still focusing on refinance, which is really helping people budget their money wisely. And I felt like that just carried into the mortgage industry.
Well, it was a huch the refi boom
was big.
Yeah, it wasn't the housing did not catch up until about 2012. I went back, I was doing some research on why lumber costs so much, and that's another subject. But because of the collapse in 2008, our housing industry went down to the lowest it had ever been, and didn't get back up to the 50-year, bottom line, because the previous 50 years prior to 2008, it was here. Well, after 2008, it actually dipped down below that low. It didn't get back to the low until 2012. So refinancing, HARP, all those things. I mean, you had this. If you were staying on top of that, and again, how quickly you could answer the phone. The refi, it was a refi boom.
It was a refi, and you had to know what those products were that were out there. The HARP, as you said, that was a big loan for a long time.
100%.
Because people were upside down in their houses. But 2013, as I mentioned earlier, is when I kind of refocused and said, okay, I'm going to really start focusing on our purchase market, and the business had really started picking up to that purchase business more than refinances at the time.
So. Dig a little bit, because I'm really curious, since I've got you in the house here. I'll pick your brain a little bit.
Okay.
So you go to purchases, and now it's time to go out and entertain the real estate agents, right? What is your mindset? What were you doing then versus what you do now?
Well, I think having the knowledge and experience really gives you that confidence to go back out there.
Yep.
So in 2013, there was a lot of networking events. So I really threw myself into that. I was at every NEFAR, every Women's Council of Realtors, any kind of networking event, I was there, and purposefully put myself in that position to be able to meet new people, new realtors. And again, the consistency, because everyone, those realtors and those agents were there, they would see me at all the events. You get to know them, you make a personal connection with them.
Right.
They trust you when they get that personal connection, and they want to do business with you.
So you said two things here. Again, we talked about consistency early in the marketing part, but consistency in showing up.
Yeah.
You've got to come in. You've got to go stop by that social, give some hugs, shake some hands,
Right.
whatever it is. But you've got to show up to grow your business.
Right.
You cannot sit at home in your chair.
You can't do it.
You might be, but if you've been in the business for 10 years and you've got some agents that are personal friends of yours that want to feed you a couple of loans, 2 or 3 loans a month, okay, you can live on that in this business. But if you really want to,
Right.
Your Mortgages by Linda was not designed to do 2 or 3 loans a month.
No. No.
Yeah. You couldn't afford to pay your son what he's paying. I think you have another assistant too, don't you?
I have 2 other employees.
2 other employees. I mean, so you saw to get that ball rolling, get that momentum. Now, today versus 2013, 14, and 15, you don't have to show up to as many
Right.
as you did then, but to get that ball rolling, you got to show up.
Well, people want to do business with people that they know and they have a personal connection with. It's kind of like the social media thing, putting my picture on there. When I go to those events, I'll have agents come up to me and they follow me and they know me.
Yes.
Because they know me on Facebook.
Exactly.
So that again gives that personal connection, and they want to do business with somebody that they like.
Yes.
That they trust and have a connection with also.
100%. That's why I'm so glad they all wear name tags, because they do come up to you and you're like, okay, hey, I loved your post or whatever. They say something to you, which is very flattering. Please,
Yes.
we do want you to come up to us.
Yes.
Just sometimes it's, obviously we got our buyers' names in our heads, and then we're with the agents that we're working with. And if you're someone new, that we've created that relationship on social media and you feel us, come up to us. We just got to get your name planted in their head.
Right. Yeah,
So,
we definitely want to meet the new ones, and we want to connect with
right.
and anyone that's following us on social media. Obviously, we're following each other for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, definitely come up to us.
Well, it's part of too, as I mentioned last night, and another consistent thing, and we haven't tapped into that, is surrounding yourself by other successful people. So the first thing is go in and friend them, go in and follow them on Instagram, see what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's starting to create that, and hopefully when you have the opportunity to meet them, you've already moved the relationship forward a little bit and get to know them even faster because of the social media showing up and then meeting those.
I mean, it's definitely a social media world now. You if you're not on social media, you're definitely missing out.
Right. What do you do? You're running the business. Your son depends on you to do what you do, and you have 2 people that you're leading, other people that you're leading other than your son. What do you do to stay on top of your game? Are you a podcast listener? Do you listen to books? Do you go to industry events? What is it that you do?
I am not a podcast listener, and I don't really listen to books.
I like reading them personally. That's why I get the hard copies.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through stages where I'm a book reader, and I'll read a lot of books. I wake up in the morning and I try to inspire my own self. So when I'm driving into the office, I tell myself, I'll go over certain quotes or scriptures or whatever it is that I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
And I speak those out because I believe that when I speak them out and I hear them, it gets into my mind and it really sets my day. I'm a very positive person and I don't like negativity. So I try to start out my day with some, again, quotes or scriptures that are what I'm focusing on and how I want to build myself. And I will say those. I don't listen to the radio in the car.
You read the book.
I do read the book. That's really the only book that I'm
Right.
interested in reading at this time. I've read other books and
Right.
had plenty of time for that. But
Well, I mean, again, in where I'm listening to podcast and reading other books, that kind of meditation, if you want to call it, that you're doing, is a big thing. That to allow your mind to clear it out. Like I said, start the day off with positive thoughts. So when you said that, my immediate response is a thought actually was, okay, when someone comes to you and says to you today, what do you think's going on in the market? What is your positive spin on because you and I we get asked that question all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I said it last night to someone. So I said, I don't operate in the world's economy. I operate in God's economy. And, if we focus on the negativity and listen to all the dreadful things, it gets into you and you will feel that. I don't listen to news.
No.
I don't listen to any negative things. So really not much of that's in my spirit or in my mind because I'm not listening to it. I've been through the crash. I've been through the downturn. Maybe I won't produce as much a certain month, but I'm still going to produce and I'm still going to have a positive attitude.
Right.
People are still going to buy houses. And as I mentioned, interest rates are not really high, if you will. They're just normal right now. They were low.
Cost of homes are high.
Cost of homes are high. But really refinancing, if you're a homeowner and you have so much equity in your house, if you use that equity and you get let's say you get a 6% interest rate, but you pay off a 20% credit card, it's still a wise investment. So, I focus on the positive. I look for the good in it.
That adds, I think in relationships, whether you're managing a team or you're obviously trying to influence real estate agents to send you business, there has to be a value that's given back,
right?
And I think a lot of people don't understand your positivity is probably the greatest value they're actually getting on any given day. Because we all deal with stuff, right? Some people wake up on the wrong side of the bed. That's why that phrase came about. But Linda is using the positive momentum, her positive thought, and people feel that. Whether you actually say it, it's not necessary. But if you're expressing it, whether it's you're doing a video and you got high energy. I know there's a lot of great agents out there doing videos, and I tell them this. You could just feel your energy coming out of the video, and that's value that someone who's following you go, I want to follow them again. Yeah.
Because people really would rather hear positive and uplifting versus the dread and doom and gloom. And I'm just not. I just don't want to be a part of that.
Talking to great people last night, the event we both were at. These situations create opportunities. It's going to turn up the soil a little bit. And who knows what might grow out of it.
Right.
If you're staying abreast, staying positive, and which keeps your eyes open and looking for the opportunities that might come about. I saw a nice, I guess you'd call it a meme yesterday. Marry your house, date your mortgage. Meaning, fall in love, go buy the house that you love. You're just dating the mortgage, and when the market comes around, whether that's next year or 3 years from now, rates will drop. You'll refinance it and lower that payment. It's just so just date the mortgage.
Yeah.
I thought that was someone messaged me, if you're following this, message me if you were the one where I saw that someone brilliantly said that. And I was like, yes.
Well, at the end of the day, people still are going to buy houses. Right now with the values being so high.
They're thinking they're slowing down a little bit than what they're doing.
It's a little bit of a slowdown, but the market is cyclical, right? It's always kind of going in that circle. So you have to hang. Again, what do we say when the tough
going gets tough? The tough gets going.
Yes, there you go.
Well, I was sitting there, and I think I mentioned this the other day. I was talking to someone last night. I was sitting down with Cole Slate, and he brought it into perspective to me too, to how to answer some of his questions. Like, three, 4 months ago, we had less than 2,000 homes on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's like 4,000.
Right.
But under normal times, there's like 10,000.
Yeah.
So the demand is still extremely high. A lot of people say, oh, the houses are staying on the market a little bit longer. Well, yeah, there are some people that more people are putting their house up for sale than say they were, several months ago, but we're still well below what, as a country, our housing, we're way behind.
So we still have a few years to try to catch up to that, right?
Yeah.
So the demand is there.
I don't know if you and I are going to be still originating mortgages by the time we catch up to that. Hopefully we're sitting on some beach somewhere.
There you go.
All right. So we've been talking a lot about you, a little bit about your ideology. If you could look back, on the last 20 years, I mean, we talked about some of your challenges. You had some personal challenges with some family members and so forth. But as far as the industry is concerned, well, actually, you know what? Let me change this question. Let's just talk about Mortgages by Linda, 2013 to the present. Your name is out there.
Right.
You're DBAing you got the support from the broker, but it's you.
Right.
What are some challenges? Just a couple great challenges that you've had in the last 9 years. Whether it was just personally, because I believe the only thing in our way is us, our own person, our own. If we improve ourselves, we'll improve. But so, what are some challenges that you've had as Mortgages by Linda?
Well, gosh.
It's a great interview question. I'm putting it on the spot.
Yeah, putting on the spot. I mean, because I'm a positive person, I don't focus on the challenges. So I couldn't sit here and say that.
You see challenges as opportunity, or challenges as he's giving you some an obstacle. He's putting an obstacle in your way for some reason. At least that's how I see it.
So when something, my team knows this very well. Let's say deals fall out. I'll give COVID an example of COVID at the beginning of COVID year. I mean, we had a big pipeline of deals that fell out due to lost job, couldn't prove income. I mean, just all kinds of challenges. So I say this to my team all the time, and anyone on my team that works with me or under me can tell you, I always say I get double for the trouble. And so I do not focus on challenges. I focus on the win and how we overcame it. So I couldn't really identify specific challenges because they're not in my mind. I'm not thinking about them.
You identified them as a challenge, but I think based on your positivity, and obviously I read John Maxwell. I got his newest book sitting on my desk at home. I got to read. But he talks about how God puts those challenges, he puts those obstacles in your way where you think you're stopped. He's just challenging you to get around it.
Yeah.
And it's the process of getting around it is where you're learning and you're growing.
Well, I think when something comes up, again, you learn from those obstacles, the challenges, if you will, and you put new things in place to help that not to happen again. So we did create some new, we have templates for this. We have emails templates for this, and we have a checklist for that. And we have this. You put new things in place.
Processes in place
to help you next time something like that does come up, so that you don't have to go through it the same way that you went through it the first time.
Who has been the most influential person in your career?
God. But if
I could guess that one.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, I try to use Bible scriptures for my daily growth. But if I look at a person and say the most influential,
or who coached you, led you through some times, taught you stuff that.
When I first got into business, I didn't have a mentor. The first person that I hung my license with, they just kind of said, go out and ask all your friends and family and figure it out. And I studied. I went online. I read every book I could. I went to every class I could. I tried to teach myself and learn as much as I could because I didn't have a mentor at that time.
I'm leading you with this question. What did you get from that?
What did I get from that?
From going out and trying to get as much information as possible.
So that's how I try to teach my team now. I can let you sit alongside me and you can watch me and you can learn how I do things, but you need to learn it yourself. If you go dig deep for the answer, if you call the lender and ask the guidelines, if you look up the guidelines yourself, if you do the research, it's going to get deep in you and you're going to know it. If I tell you my way, that may not necessarily be your way. So learning and digging deep and doing everything you can to figure it out by yourself is how I learn best. And that's what's...
So you have a new loan officer comes in today versus what you did. You had to learn a lot.
Yeah.
If you had the thought process of, hey, I want to add 5 LOs onto Mortgages by Linda.
Right.
What would you do with those loan officers right out of the get-go, based on your 20 years experience, relating to what we just were talking about, what you were just mentioning?
So I have a new loan officer. His name is Matt. He was there last night. So that's what I've done with him is I sent him off to a loan officer training in Michigan for 2 days. I've had him do webinars from different lenders. I've had him call my account executives, talk to them, ask them to teach you this. I've had him sit alongside me, watch me go through the Calyx and the software. So I've kind of thrown him out there the way I learned it. I want him to do it that same way. I mean, he sits next to me and he watches me and he listens to me, which is, it's important to watch and listen. Yep. But if you don't dig in there yourself and try to learn yourself.
There's a lot of other time in the day and you need, if you want to cut that learning curve down. I was kind of leading you to what you mentioned earlier was the confidence part.
Right.
If you want to stand up and give a 3-minute spiel in front of a bunch of real estate agents because you're sponsoring a breakfast at NEFAR.
Right.
You need to stand up there with some confidence.
Right.
And if you're going out and getting this knowledge, which is one of the main things. So we've talked about consistency. We've talked about showing up. We've talked about hanging out with successful people. But now the number one thing, the last thing we're mentioning, but we're coming around and just in our conversation is education.
Yeah.
The real estate agents, the top agents will tell you when they put their heart into learning that stuff and going to everything NEFAR offered, their game changed quicker. They got that confidence. Loan officers, same thing.
Yeah.
You've got to dig in. Obviously, there's a ton of stuff online or the wholesale company like UWM and whatever provide all sorts of education pieces. You got to dig in. The faster you learn, when you're asked that question by the real estate agent, it doesn't faze you because you at least can spit something out that sounds effortless.
It's kind of like that organic learning. I can tell you and you can watch me, but organically you have to go and get it yourself. Yes. So that you can speak about it knowledgeably.
Because there's only so much you can by just repeating what you hear someone else say. Because it's not like we're doing it. It's not like you're in a call center at Loan Depot or Quicken Loans where they're doing one call after another and you're hearing all the customer reactions and it's a fast-paced world. Our world, we're spending a lot of time obviously on marketing, we're out building relationships, so it's a slow thing and you've got to cut that learning curve. If you want to start making more money faster, you've got to put your time into the education.
You do. Well, they say knowledge is power. So learning as much as you can. You can't learn everything from one person, and every scenario, every loan could have a different situation. It could have some different guidelines that you need to know. You have to really dig in and learn.
I'm gonna. We're closing. There's a couple minutes left here, so I want to close. This is the last formal question. So, talking to probably almost 70 agents on the podcast. Number one thing they want with their referral partner, which is us, is communication. What are some things that you guys do that is the cornerstone of Mortgages by Linda as far as satisfying them before, during, and after the close?
That's a great question. So this has come from years of experience and realizing we need to put some processes in place. So we created an email that we send out at the beginning of the loan. We send it to all the agents, listing agents and the buyer's agent, and we're communicating with them every week. We send them an email with a status update every time something new happens. When the appraisal comes in, we send an email out. When the loan is clear to close, we send an email out. So communication is key. We want to add value to them. So letting them know throughout the process. I do have sometimes some agents say, I don't care, just get me to the closing table. Even those agents, I send them an email every week. Whether they read it
They'll
or
be
not.
the first ones to say you didn't communicate with them during the process.
Well, I feel like too, sending that email, you have it in writing, so you can always refer back. And on occasion, I have to say, can you please refer back to the email that we sent to you? But communication is key. Get on the phone with them. Even talk to your listing agents. They want to hear from the loan officer. Hey, I get the phone call all the time. Hey, I got a pre-approval with your name on it. Can you tell me if this buyer is going to be a qualified buyer? Because and in this market, the market is so.
Yeah, the rates could have changed a whole percent
so
since last
crazy.
time. Yeah.
And that listing agent, they want to know from that loan officer before they take their listing off the MLS for their seller, is this really a well-qualified buyer? But being able to talk to those agents and give them a confidence. It's the confidence. When you have the experience, the knowledge, and you might not have the experience, but you can get the knowledge. If you're hungry and passionate about it, study, learn, grow, do anything. There's so much material out there for you
There is. I share with my new loan officers. I've got them listening to the podcast of people who I follow. There's others in loan world. There's a lot of people in the real estate world talking about their industry, and they're out there talking to other great people and what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, you want to surround yourself. You said it already. You really want to surround yourself with great people, and the agents that we work with. We hope that we can show them that we're trying to add value into their life, and that value is getting our buyers to the closing table earlier than they're supposed to, telling them the information without them having to call me and ask me, did appraisal come in? They don't have to call me because they know I'm going to send an email to them.
Right. That, I mean, how many times we get that question on a transaction going here? Let us know in the appraisal. Trust me, as soon as I see it in my email, it's forwarded to you.
Yeah, you're going to know right away.
You have it. All right, this is my last 2-minute warning questions. We're going to wind up with this.
Okay.
Is it more important who you know or what you know? And why?
Well, I would say it has to be what you know, because what you know can help you to get the who you know in your corner. Because what you said earlier, I can get up and stand in front of a group of agents, and if I don't know enough to speak to them, they're not really going to want to talk to me. So if I know more and I have the knowledge, then I'm going to speak to them, and they want to know me then. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing for our agents is, can we get to the closing table on time and no problems? Problems are going to come up occasionally, but whatever I know, the knowledge that I have will help me grow my sphere of influence.
Well, I think that it just wraps around what we've been talking about for the last hour for you and how your career went. Because what I'm translating without knowing what you were doing day to day, you were given an opportunity. Obviously, someone says, yeah, okay, you want to be a loan officer, but you had to do and put yourself forward, show up, learn what you learned. Like you said, you were digging up wherever you could dig up knowledge. You were doing. So I can see your reasoning there and why that's your choice. I'm a who you know person.
Yeah.
Not that you can be you don't know anything.
Right.
But it's the who you know who gives you the opportunity to stand in front of that group. Now, at that point, then what you know comes into play.
Sure.
But again, maybe it's because what you know impress that person to say, type of thing. But so I can see in your life why that would fall in. What's your favorite thing to do here in Northeast Florida?
Okay, don't laugh. I go
second to going to church.
Shopping.
Okay.
Shopping. I am a shopaholic. I literally go shopping every weekend.
So if we go down to the St. John's Town Center,
you will
we're not
find
going
me
to see there.
You will find me there. My vacations are planned around where's the best shopping.
Oh, that's that.
So my son typically coordinates my vacations, and he knows find the best shopping and the best restaurants. Shopping and eating out.
So what's somewhere you went recently that you really enjoyed the shopping at?
In Palm Beach, I went shopping down on Worth Avenue.
Wow.
If you have never done that, oh
I've
my
never been to
gosh.
Worth Avenue, but when you said Palm Beach, I can only think of Beverly Hills
Yes.
and that kind of
Yes,
atmosphere.
it's the Rodeo Drive of Palm Beach. So,
Right.
yes.
Right.
Yes.
Linda, I appreciate your coming on and to share. Hopefully, our listeners, whether you're a loan officer or a real estate agent, got something out of this. Linda's story is out there and something to admire. The hard work she's put forth and the reputation that you have in town.
Thank you so much.
So,
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.